Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to have Victor back. So, Victor, welcome back, dude.
Hey,
So, Victor, can you please let everyone know what your full type is?
yeah, I'm an ESTP, or in OP terms, I'm an audio ACTI consume play blast sleep blast.
Damn, you said that fast. Uh,
Sleep blast, man.
I
Do you want me to say it again?
was like, shit, I don't know if you were gonna know what you said. That was fast. But
I mean, you're gonna have it in the title, so it's gonna be
yeah, I have the
fine, right?
title. Yeah, I have the title. I was like, holy shit, that
And
was
then the
fast.
consume blasts aren't gonna care anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah, that's right. That's right for those guys. Yeah. Um, so what has your journey been like, man? Working in your NT sleep last, especially before we started this interview, you said that when the pandemic hit, your need to socialize went down a lot. So can you tell me about your experience and your journey so far working in that
Sure, yeah, yeah.
assignment?
I don't know if I have a like running theory on the what happened with the pandemic and my need to socialize, but being a true sleepwalker, so you reached out to me a few days ago to have this interview, and of course, I've spent exactly 0 seconds thinking about what I'm actually gonna say or planning. So that sleep was for you. Still kind of running you, even if you try to work on it. But oh my God, um, yeah. Let's see. So when I first got my tab back, I was very weirded out. If you guys haven't seen the first interview, because I basically always thought, since I learned about MBTI, 16 personality, I was like, yeah, the ESTP is the coolest type. And of course, there's no way I'm that type. So when you gave me my tab back, I'm like, how am I this? Like, I don't see it. Um, and again, in natural sleep-wise fashion, though, it didn't cause like an existential crisis or anything. I was just like, that's it, and just went on with my life. And slowly over time, over those past 3 years, I guess I've started to see things more clearly. I started understanding, okay, what are actually the coins? And I was like, okay, this actually makes sense. This coin right here isn't what I thought it was. Being an ESTP doesn't mean, okay, you're just like the badass like jock. Like you're still kind of a nerd, kind of like the coolest nerd, but you're still a bit of a nerd. Like consume actually means you're just consuming stuff all day, which I was doing a lot of for sure. And then the sleep was the void being really in that consistency, just not being able to stick with things, which is something that I've always had a hard time doing, especially when you don't have a routine that's set by someone else. So if you're not going like to school or you don't have a university course, you're like free to do whatever you want, it's just so difficult to stick to the same thing. And I've had this where I had so many different hobbies, so many different interests, and there was maybe a few weeks, a few months tops, but then it's weird to describe. It's like you just lose interest. You lose the motivation. It's like when I try to start a habit, trying to structure my routine, my everyday, and I do it for a few days and it's fine and it feels good. And then one day I wake up and it just feels like the most awful thing in the world to sit down and do the same thing again. Like there's just this resistance to the sameness. And it's really challenging, right? So one of the things that I've really worked at and have tried to set up in my life is a daily meditation habit. Probably one of the best things you could do as a sleep last. um, but I have to report that I haven't really been able to get that be a consistent thing for me in those 3 years. Really, I think what I've learned is that just because and maybe that's kind of type specific, but I think it's quite general, and I think I've heard Devin Shan say this as well. Just because you know your type, it doesn't mean you're automatically gonna be fine. You're gonna like fix everything because it's just gonna be an everyday struggle, really, and it's gonna stay difficult. And I'll be honest, and I don't really recommend this, but for me, I think I've tried enough, and I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm just gonna kind of like give up and live my life normally, and I'll just wait for something really bad to happen, for like to like really punch me in the face, and that should work to actually get me to change my ways, because pain always works. It's the best teacher, except you can only appreciate it once you're already done suffering. But yeah, I just ranted quite a lot. So if you want to add anything, make a comment on anything I said, Kendrick.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's definitely hard to do your last animal until bad shit happens. Like for I can use my last animal now, but only because a lot of bad shit happened. So, before the bad shit happened, I it wasn't like being used as I am using it right now. And there's still a lot of problems, obviously, but I can see where you're coming from, where like you're just gonna live your life and just wait till the bad shit happens. Because yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely hard. Like I can tell you all the
Yeah.
logic, but then you already know it too, and it's like there's no
Right.
yeah,
It's still, that's the
yeah.
thing. Like you think you're like, oh, I'm a thinker, I'm a logical person, and still, like when it hits you, and the animalistic like need and desire hits, it's like you can't help it.
Um, but you did say that you're not socializing as much anymore, so you are
All
taking
right, that.
time for yourself from the tribe since the pandemic hit. So there is some changes though. It's not like nothing changed.
So
Can you?
that's the thing, right? With my type, so I'm an extrovert, have the double activated place. So I definitely have the need to be around people and to socialize a decent amount. But the thing I've always been doing the most is that double masculine ST consume, just means just a whole bunch of new being gathered every day. As a kid, that was maybe reading comic books to watching TV. Nowadays, it's more so YouTube, Reddit, other social media, reading books, watching movies, all of that. It's still like kind of an introverted activity. I still do have the need to like kind of discuss it with others, read the comments, so kind of have a social aspect to it. But that doesn't mean I'm actually getting to the point of doing sleep, right? It's just taking in a whole bunch of new. But yeah, about the pandemic, so I spent a decent amount of it kind of isolated, not completely. Um, but I've definitely noticed after that it's just the idea of just meeting a friend and just shooting the shit doesn't sound as appealing anymore. It could be something else. It could be that just I've gotten to the stage in life where, I've kind of graduated from university, started working since I was interviewed. So everywhere's kind of getting settled. So there isn't that much new to talk about. So maybe that's one thing I'm liking. Like I'm thinking of seeing a friend and I'm being like, there's nothing new gonna be there. There's nothing exciting that's gonna happen. Like it's gonna be an activity, like you're gonna play board games or whatever, like play some sport, and that sounds more like fun. But just like I don't know, talking. If it's not philosophizing as well, um, I don't know.
Um, Maybe that's tied to your social type. We'll talk about that in a bit. But
Okay, like
let's
that, yeah.
let's. But it also makes sense if there's nothing new. What's the point, right? So, uh,
Hmm.
But what about? Let's go over the different parts of NT sleep last and see which aspects you've
Sure,
kind of done and which you haven't. Okay. The
sure,
first one
sure.
is NITI specifically, which is your reoccurring life patterns, and like what is true. Which of those recurring patterns is true, right? So, have you gotten a chance to do 1% and thought about like what's
Yeah.
always I mean, oh, dude, stop, hold on. You do know because you explained to me earlier. You explained to me earlier. You said you try to freaking sleep process and or like make a habit and then it breaks. So you are doing it, dude. It's not missing.
I am. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm using the sleep fast to notice that there's no sleep
Yeah,
happening. Like
but
there's
that
no
is no. But you saw
consistency.
it happening.
That in itself, yeah, yeah. There is self-awareness there, for sure. In fact, I've even noticed like just and even now, by the way, as I'm listening to myself speak, I'm noticing how I'm just rambling on. I'm giving you my ST self-report. I'm not really concluding, just functions going on autopilot. But just those last 3 years, just looking back at what I've been doing, I'm like, I'm starting to see like there's like actual chapters. Like I can put some divisions into what I'm doing, and I can see, okay, hold up, I'm seeing patterns here. Like I'm trying a new thing, then I get bored of it,
Yeah,
then I drop it, then I pick up a new thing, then that lasts for a bit, and it's the new thing, and I'm trying to be consistent, and it's not working. I'm like, okay, so maybe it's actually because of doing that sleep that I was like, this is not working, right? So I'm like seeing the pattern, and I'm like,
yeah,
this is you say it's like instead of what's working for me, it's like what's not working for me, right?
yeah,
Because that's the thing with the
dude.
with the
Yeah, you
sleep
are
loss.
using it, dude. You are using it. I mean, it's you're seeing what's not working, which is fucking fantastic.
I guess you need to see what's not working to be able to see what is
Exactly. It's trial and error,
working.
man.
Yeah,
Trial and
yeah.
error.
I guess it's just that it's hard to get it to work. Like I guess if you had it first, you'd be able to see your parents. You're like, okay, so here's what I have to do, what I have to change, the trajectory I have to go on to be able to get this thing to work eventually, right? Get me to an endpoint,
Yeah.
or whatever. And if you don't have it, it's like super frustrating because you see it, but you can't fix it, something like that. So
I think I know
it's
one of the
just,
reasons why it's not working also though.
yeah,
Because I think you're doing all the right things right now with the NTs, with the NITI sleep processing. I think the one part missing based on what I'm hearing you say is starting with the NI. So with the NI, you need to project like a long-term goal that you want to achieve, right? It has to be
yeah,
long-term, right? And then you need to NT figure out how you're going to get there. Like, what are all the
right,
steps that you need to take to get there? So if you don't have any long-term goal or long-term problem that you're trying to fix, it's not really going to work. And also part of it is also um responsibility and drive. So like what the ones and twos have. So I don't know what your social type is. We'll, like I said, we'll talk about it in a second. But the one is like, I need to. So for number ones, right? It's like if you put yourself in their mindset, like let's say Michael Jordan, right, who's an ESTP, right? So for him, he's thinking, how am I gonna crush all these fuckers, right? All this like other NBA teams, right? Right. If you look at MMA, I don't know if you watch UFC, but
I
like
do, I do.
okay, so if you put yourself in like an ESTP or even like an ISTP's mindset, and you think, okay, let's say you're John Jones, right? Like or like another famous fighter,
Like Connor, yeah,
yeah, like Conor McGregor or something. What you're gonna have then is a kill list. You're gonna have all the faces of all the big names in MMA, and you're gonna put like an X every time you beat one, right? And you're gonna figure out with your NT how am I gonna beat each of them because each of them has a different style. So you have to figure out how you're gonna beat each person, right? So because there's like that long-term goal of trying to collect names, if you're an MMA fighter or Michael Jordan's to beat other teams, right? Um, you have to be very cerebral in like how you're gonna beat them. You have to outsmart them, right? So you have to use your ST to look to gather all the data and look for their weakness so that you can take advantage of it. And also look at your strength. So you have to look at your reoccurring pattern for yourself too. It's like, okay, where am I strong at and where do I lose at? So, you know, um,
right.
so I think for you, what do you have a long-term goal like that or
Right.
no?
So there were three things here that came up that I want to address, and I want to just state them right now so I make sure I actually get to them because
Sure,
we're both lead always to just jump from thing to thing.
sure.
So about the long-term goal, I did actually realize that that was something that I had to do. And even before getting type, I had taken this life purpose course by this INTJ guy who obviously just tells you how to basically build an NI and how to have a long time purpose, right, and a vision. And maybe a month or two after getting that, I realized I have to get really serious about this. So I actually hadn't finished the course, obviously. So I ended up doing that, and that was a lot of anti-processing. Like makes you do a bunch of exercises where you go back and you relive like your happiest moments. You contemplate about your strengths, your values, what you want to change in the world, which questions you find meaningful, and all of that. And at the end of that process, I, of course, decided I want to do a podcast because everyone in my type and close types do podcasts. That's the thing, right? And I actually had set it up as like this grand vision. I had a vision board. I'm going to show you. I still have it. Uh, Check this out. I had this thing. That's how you do anti-sleep. I had this thing printed out. It's like a list of like values and people I admire and stuff.
Oh,
And I
nice.
had this on my wall, and I was making things happen. I moved back from the country where I was studying to my home country because I decided that's where I want to make it happen.
Oh, where are
I
you
was
now?
doing daily steps, and then some OE thing came up. Basically, I got like a good job offer, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do both things in the same time, and I didn't, and I never got it started. Demon Blast. So yeah, that's kind of what happened, and since then I just haven't picked another thing that I felt like was meaningful enough. But I do agree absolutely with you, and it did come to the same conclusion that you kind of need that NI like Northern Star to guide you as a lead SE, because if you don't have that reason that's strong enough, you're just gonna go in circles, and that's kind of what I've been doing, to be
You were in
honest.
Europe last time I spoke to you, right? Where
Yeah.
where are you now?
So I'm still in Europe. I was in Austria before. That's where I was studying. So that'd be just a bit to the left, to the right actually of your head, using that as a compass on the map that's behind you.
Yeah.
And now in my not gonna make your point why guided, don't worry. I'm back in my home country in Bulgaria now. So still in Europe,
Okay.
just a bit more to the east.
Oh, I know where I've been there. I've been to Bulgaria.
Oh
So
yeah, also yeah, you travel around the world, right?
yeah,
That's
I've been to all the
that's
European countries except for Iceland. So
Oh wow, that's really
yeah,
impressive.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
actually going
I'd
to
love to
Europe next year.
travel a
So
lot,
yeah,
but yeah, gotta organize to travel. It's so annoying, right? When you have to do Hawaii in order to do Hawaii. I hate it.
you hate organizing for to travel to plan for it.
Right, having to do Hawaii to do Hawaii. Like,
All
why
the
do you have
NI.
to double? Why do you
And
have to double observe? Can't I just do the single function? Just messing around.
man, it's
I just
hard.
want yeah.
Your type, you guys, the ESTP and ESFP, you guys are so funny because like you guys can do a lot of shit, but like you guys are so weird with the planning stuff. It's like
Oh yeah.
I'm like I'm lead N, right? So for me, it's like this.
It's better, yeah.
It's
For
not.
you, you like
It's
the
not a
small
problem.
fucking SIs that come up like
Yeah,
something with the visas and the documentation
yeah,
missing
exactly.
something there. Right, right.
No,
We
but
also
dude,
have
I have ST Savior, so I can do the documentation stuff too. I have a bullshit type.
sure, sure.
I have ST Savior as an ENFP, so I can do that. I still hate it, but I can do it. Um, so okay. Um, so we're talking about the North Star earlier, but there's something that you also have to keep in mind being your type is you also have demon FE, right? So
Sure, sure.
it's double
Um,
activated, but what I want to bring
yeah,
up though when it comes to goal setting is emotions. So it doesn't matter what your type is, all humans are emotional, and ultimately emotion is the driving force. You can be as logical as you want to be, but like without the emotion you can't, you don't have the drive comes from the emotion essentially, right? So what have you done for yourself in terms of like goal setting to attach your goal to an emotion that you really strongly feel
mm,
towards, to really motivate you to really fire you up, right? Because if you're not fired up, like how are you gonna freaking like follow the habit when you fucking hate it, right? you know
yeah, I get you. I have to say, I think this is more of an FI thing. Like, I think it just works a bit different where you guys can generate the emotion internally and it gets you fired up. Because at INTJ, I was talking the same thing and I was just a bit confused with how that works. To be fair, I have done, I'd say, quite a lot of work with emotions, just NF, just recognizing emotions, working with them, learning to process them, um, letting them go and stuff, just not doing the typical sleep last thing where you just ignore them, you let them build up and then it explodes in your face. um but I don't know, I do feel like with FE it's more of like, okay, what do other people value, and then I want to make something work that they're gonna value, and that's kind of how you get motivated. I don't know, I just don't feel like I experience emotions. I mean, obviously, as we said, we're all humans, we have the
no
emotions.
no dude,
Just
hold on for a second.
yeah, go ahead.
A second.
Damn, 2C plus, goddamn.
Before you go on a tangent, hold on a second.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
no,
go
I
ahead.
get that how I get how FE is different from FI, but what I'm trying to get at is like you need to try for the FE then. So you need to get fired up by someone. Like someone, you literally need like a friend to like fire you up. It's like, Victor, do you like being a piece of shit? Something like that, right? And then you'll be like, well, I don't want to be a piece of shit, And it's like,
Yeah.
well, this is your goal. Are you gonna fucking do it? Like, you need someone to like really like get you fired up, right? So like to get your goal, because otherwise you're not gonna do it, I think. You know what I mean? Because that's what the FE you need to try, right? Like masculine FE. You need someone with like masculine FE to like fucking like like hammer you out.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I haven't had people like that in my. I have previously, but not currently. Anyone to like really put pressure for me to be like. But then it's also difficult because you have the eyes, so you're like, okay, but I kind of also don't really give a fuck. I mean, I see you, I feel you, but it's also like I'm gonna do my own thing. It's masculine as well, so you're like,
Yeah, but
it's
you have feminine FE, so you're gonna get swept by the emotion. So right now, because you're sitting in your room, you're TI thinking you're not gonna get swept. But when you're in that moment,
Mhm.
because of the feminine FE, you will get swept.
Oh,
You
it's
know?
true. It happened today.
Oh, what happened?
I just playing a computer game and did something, just making many mistakes. I was getting frustrated at myself. just felt the emotions, you know, rising up, me just getting frustrated. I was like, okay, I'm getting toted. Let's do some mindfulness, stay in the body, let them come up, feel them.
But it can also be good. It doesn't have to be negative too, right? It can be in a good way where like someone can like, challenge you in an FE way and then pump you up so you can do the NI, right? So there's a good FE and bad FE, like anything else. Let's go over your social type before we go back to the NT sleep, because I think we can discover more
Sure,
stuff
sure.
if we look
Yeah,
back.
right.
Let's go over the cross checks, man. What's your life pile like with your social type? So let's start with work and
Right.
career. You're pretty young though, right? How old are you?
Right, right.
How old are you?
26.
Yeah, that's like from
26.
you're still pretty young, so that's like the challenge. But let's hear your life.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see it. Yeah, I mean, going through, you know, school stuff and all that, I guess we can kind of get somewhere.
Sure.
So we are talking earlier about athletes, you know, especially ESTPs and ISTPs, you know, being like super competitive to the point where you like wanna like more than people have a kill list, like you really, really want to be the best. So for me, I've still always had this competitive drive because of the masculine SE at the top, for sure, but it's never been as intense. I've noticed in competitions there was always this priority of, okay, let's still be friends at the end, let's not, you know, get mad at each other. I mean, I don't really want you to be super mad at me if I beat you, as long as I'm doing it within the rule set. I've done martial arts, right? And I've never wanted to, you know, actually hurt the other person. You know, when I've done sparring, I've always been like, okay, let's make sure I don't actually hurt you. And if I ended up doing that, I feel bad about it. So because of all that, I was pretty sure I wasn't flex number one, even though in school I did like to be the smart kid, you know, that always knew everything. So kind of like, you know, be that number one, but it never felt excessive. I didn't feel like people were coming after me. I didn't feel like I never really had any friends from, so being left behind by friends, or people hating me because of me just wanting to be the best. So because of that, I was like, okay, probably not a number one. And which is for you guys. So I haven't been typed officially for my social type. You never got back to me. Uh, but I did go through it with Habib Khan, who's a member of the community. He's pretty good at typing. He's done the social type stuff with a lot of people. And I'll get to what his opinion was. So continuing from that, so not number one. Then I was like, okay, what about number four? Well, then I was like, I am too self-centered and selfish and not friendly enough with others to feel like I'm a four. Um, Still might be wrong, but I feel like I definitely have some flex. Like it's definitely like it's not there at all.
Oh, it's not missing.
Um, Sorry?
It's not missing.
Yeah, right. That's what it felt like. So when I first learned about the social types, that's basically my processing. So I was like, okay, so number two or number three. Now, initially, I felt really drawn to number three because I felt like I don't see the responsibility for me personally. Like I see flex and I feel like I see it more than friends, but I see both of them being there. So it's like, what's missing? Is it specialized? Or is responsibility? Now, the thing with the specialized, it's difficult to see, right? Because I'm still young. It's been only a few years since I've graduated university, and those are like set systems, right? And it's difficult for me to say, okay, I have this one thing that I'm actually doing, but it just felt like the responsibility wasn't there. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm a number three. But according to Habib, he actually thinks I'm a number two, funnily enough. And his argument was that I actually feel really bad about the fact that I'm not being responsible about some things in certain like life situations or whatever was happening. And since there's actually no evidence of me ever specializing in anything, um, yeah. But then again, when we were saying talking earlier about the podcast and life purpose and the NI and all that, uh, I feel like yes, I do want to do something meaningful, but it does feel like the drive isn't that strong to where it pushes me like, no, you have to, like you're not allowed to have like a daytime job because you have a grander mission to accomplish. Um, Another thing when it comes to number two, with really that freedom thing. And I think that's something I've seen in myself, you know, especially in combination with EP, just like stacking on top of each other, with me really needing independence, whether that be in like the work I'm doing, or with people, like in relationships, just having a hard time just settling down and having to make compromises with people, just because of that overarching need of, I need to be able to, you know, be the captain of my own destiny. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't really have haven't really narrowed it down, again, probably because of the need to do that not being there. So still kind of debating between two and three. And life power again, um I've been at the same job for like 3 years now, but I've been doing it from home, and it's not been too great because I work a lot better in environments with other people. Probably because of, you know, being an extrovert, sleep was just not as great, never have been at doing things by myself. It's always easier when it's with a group. And I actually had a work trip to the office because it's in another city, in the capital, last week. And I can see like me being responsible and being like, okay, let me handle this, guys. Let me make sure this gets done. But then on an everyday basis, it's lacking. So I just feel like my specific circumstances right now make it a bit difficult to see. Maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we just have to do more cross checks to find out.
Mm-hmm.
Also, all the points that Habib said about you are very valid. You know, especially the part where he said that the fact that you're looking at responsibility and you're not being responsible enough is responsibility. That's a really good point, for sure, 100%. Other things I've also noticed is like, maybe besides being an extrovert, maybe wanting to work in an office is because save your friends, right? Maybe you want to be
Right,
around other people
right.
also, because there's some number threes who are like EPs who like, nah, I'm good by my at home,
Yeah, Huberman, like he does his own thing. Like do the podcast at home, no one else ever shows up. I'm doing my
Yeah.
thing, right?
But I mean, let's go over the cross check and see. So for the first cross check I want to go over with you is the love language, right? So twos is
Mm-hmm.
acts of service and threes is gifts. So which one do you feel like you value more? If someone comes and helps you when you need something, and,
Mm-hmm.
and you go out of your way to help someone, or do you
Mm-hmm.
like to give people gifts and you like to receive gifts?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So for me, love languages, it was weird. Up until a certain point, I've always thought of them as me giving and never really considered the me receiving aspect. And I do think they can differ quite dramatically at times. Um, I do believe that my number one is physical touch by far, because masculinity at the top.
sure. Yeah.
Makes sense. I've never loved thinking of gifts and doing gifts for others. I've always hated it. Never been good. When a birthday comes up, I'm like, oh my God, I kind of just want to offload the responsibility to someone else. Like, can you come up with a like group gift and can we both share it? And I don't mind receiving them, but never really cared for it. And I I'm trying to think about acts of service, because I definitely can think of situations where someone's asked me to do something and I'm like, oh fine, like I don't really want to do it. Maybe there's like, okay, but I kind of have to. There's like the obligation there, just feeling like I have to help out. As far as people doing stuff for me, um,
Is that though
I
because it's
think
TI? Because TI is like you do your own work, right? So your
that's kind of the
your
thing.
service would be
Yeah,
FE, right?
yeah, I'm not really good at delegating stuff, because I'm like, oh, you're just gonna fuck it up, and I have to explain to you. I just wanted to prefer to
Yeah.
just do it by myself. But when it comes to things like, okay, cleaning the house and stuff, for example, cooking a meal, it's like I can appreciate it, but there's other things that I prioritize. Like it's more important for me to have the physical touch, and quality time is another big one for me. Just being able to spend time without having to do stuff. But if we're gonna just look at those two, I would say acts of service would definitely come above gift giving,
Yeah.
both for giving and receiving for me.
What about words? If someone compliments you and
Words,
stuff, how do you feel about compliments?
yeah. I'd rank them like this. I would say it's touch, quality time, words of affirmation. then acts of service, and then gift giving. That
I
would be my top five.
I see. That's interesting. Okay, that definitely like clears some things up. Um,
Yeah.
but not enough evidence, but
More
it's
cross checks. Let's
more
go.
cross check. Yeah, exactly. Um, because based on those cross checks that we just said, you could be any type now, right? So you could be any of the four now.
I
So,
mean, who even
so
knows if I'm seeing myself clearly? I'm just so open to the possibility that I just can't see anything about myself anymore. It's just like it is what it is.
yeah,
So
for sure, man.
it's
Let's
good
keep
or
it
bad.
open for now until we get all the cross checks, okay? Okay, next cross check is obsession, okay? So every
Mm,
type has different obsessions, right? Like for example, number one is obsessed with status, winning, achievement, right? Standing out,
mhm. Yeah.
yeah. And then obviously showing off or bragging, right?
Mhm,
That's because that's
mhm,
flex, right?
mhm. Yeah.
Um, and then number two is obsessed with work, just obsessed with work. They just keep working, right? Even after work, they'll probably be working on something else. It's just work, 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 work,
Mhm,
work, work, work.
mhm, mhm,
Also obsessed with, they're better off either as a manager if they're working for a company where they're delegating tasks, having like a group
mhm,
of specialists
mhm.
to move around, or um being an entrepreneur, right? And ultimately, the goal of the number two is they're seeking independence, right? If you're a manager, no one's controlling you, so you
Mhm,
kind of you're in charge, right?
mhm.
When you start a business, well, you're it's also for independence, right? It's like
Right.
you're the captain of your own ship, essentially, as what you
Mhm,
said earlier.
mhm.
Um, and then the downside of the twos is they can't specialize for shit. They really have trouble with it. They get like distracted so easy. They have to do something different, right? So jack of all
Mhm.
trades is usually what they become.
Master of none. Yep.
Master or not exactly. And unless they're the weird one with like Savior Blast and accidentally have
Mhm.
done it because the animal comes before the social type, right? Um
Yeah.
and then I'm trying to think what else. So let's go with that. So and then number threes is they're just responsible for that little tiny thing, which is like that just the role. They don't want to do anything else but just that one little
Yeah.
role. But they want to
Yeah.
be known to be the best for that like one little role, that niche area, right?
Mhm.
Um and then number four is obvious. It's just like, you know,
People.
it's
We.
it's
Right.
people, but also like if they get a job, they want to work with the most supportive people. So they still want to specialized, but ultimately the best job is the one with the best people, like
Mhm. Right. Right.
the best environment, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
with all those description there, which one is your obsession? Would you say is like the closest to your obsession?
Yeah, it's difficult, right? Because also taking my type into consideration, there's here kind of a contradiction there where if I'm specialized, there's also the really big need to still be OE and kind of do different things. Or
Right.
if I'm a number two, then it's like a super, super like EP number two, um, independence and new and different.
Sure.
Um, it's kind of hard for me to say. I would say that never was the person that just does work, work, work in that sense. And though I have thought that I kind of am or want to be entrepreneurial, I haven't actually started any businesses yet to prove that. Um, and in my job, again, I feel like the situation is a bit different, but I guess it would lean more towards me being a free because I do kind of have this process that I'm like responsible for, and I don't like that it's kind of the same thing because I'm like, oh my god, that's boring. I don't like doing the same thing. But then again, I maybe I'm not like that motivated with okay, let me seek out, let me try to manage people. Like there's a girl in my team, like she joined after me, but she feels like which is probably a buster too, most definitely. But it feels like it's a lot more natural for her to take on those responsibilities and be like, okay, so let me delegate tasks, let me just come in and yeah, just do number two shit, I guess is what I'm getting at. But I just feel like I just need a few extra years in my career to be sure of that, because as I said like before, like for example, for in like school or university, I didn't have like that one subject. I was like, okay, let me really just dive into this, and I'll be like known as being the best at this. I was like, yeah, everything's interesting, let me just do everything, as well as like with hobbies, never really pick the one thing that to be like, okay, I'm just gonna do this and get really good at this. And yeah, so it's difficult to say, but I have to say I lean towards being a number three, using those cross checks and those definitions. But that's the thing, because I still do feel like I'm quite independent. Like I work from home and I don't get micromanaged like at all. So I'm still like quite free with how I choose to delegate my time or what to do. So yeah,
Okay, so far we know you're not a one. I'm not ruling out four, by the way. 'Cause I think four
it's
could still be there.
possible. It's
Yeah,
it's
four still
plausible.
because
Sure, sure.
your description actually points more towards four, and I'll explain why.
Could be.
Um,
Sure.
so the and again, this is not we have to go through more cross checks, obviously, but like
Mhm.
the reason why is, um, number one, love language. You said quality time was huge, and that's like a save your friends thing, right? Number two, you sounds like you're not going against specialization, and you're also not missing responsibility completely. So if you were four, you would have four and three and two activated. That means you would only be missing one. And
Yeah.
based on your life pile, I don't see any ones happening so far. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's hard to say. Do you have any trophies? You know, like have you won any competition first place? Have you
Yeah, I
second,
guess I
third?
guess you're right. That's the thing. Like I've been competitive, but just never been like that super drive. I've always attributed it more to me just not sticking it out with things. So with a lot of athletes, for example, I've noticed we were talking earlier, they tend to be blast, and I think that's like a key part. Like you need like SE is really good to have on top, but if you're blast-wise, that also means you do have that sleep. You're a bit more introverted, so you're more likely to show up to your workouts and your training sessions and actually do that thing enough. Because that's something I love to compete. I love to compare, and I do give my when it's a competition. Like for example, like when I play board games, I have this friend who like she actually does not care about winning. Like she's just there to enjoy herself with her friends and have a good time. When I'm playing a board game or like doing anything, I'm like I'm doing my best to win. It's just like I don't want to burn all of the bridges, but just still like definitely that like I feel like that desire to like be the best and stand out and beat people, just not at the price of people getting super upset and me burning bridges and stuff. It's hard for me to not see flex in myself completely. But I
Yes,
will admit I don't have any trophies.
but
I
but
don't.
but remember what Dave said also in one of the videos is like number fours are competitive in a small scale, like video games, like
I may
your
not
board
have
games.
seen that one.
So
Yeah.
it yeah, they are competitive in that, like if it's just for fun with a tribe kind of deal, they are get like hyper competitive. But outside of that, like arena, when you go to actually
Mhm.
like real life where it's like, it's not a game anymore. It's like that's where like the drive is missing, right?
Mhm.
So that's just something to keep in mind,
Oh,
obviously.
very possible. Yeah, agreed.
Um, and also with the sleep last thing, Arnold Schwarzenegger sleep last, and he's a fucking number one, you know. So it's not like, oh, we have to be blast last to be like number one.
Sure,
Like,
sure. I'm definitely not thinking I'm a number one.
yeah,
Just think it.
I mean, I'm talking about flex. I'm talking about flex, like the savior
Yeah.
flex. Yeah, because
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
for now, I'm like so far it sounds like it's leaning towards four, just based on the
Mhm.
cross checks that you provided.
Mhm.
Because then you would have all three, and even the only thing that would be different would then be the gifts love language, because then you said gifts is the
Mhm.
bottom, right? So in that case, like why would you know gifts be second to quality time, right? If you're number four, you know what I mean? So that's kind of where the thing is. But like it's also tricky too, because you have a lot of contradiction happening. um you have extrovert sensing, and extrovert sensing likes to exchange items to each other, right?
Mhm.
So it's like that could be seen as gifts, but is it because you love it or because you're using your SE, right?
Yeah,
So it's
I
kind.
guess it's more about like if you have it already, like the token thing, I can definitely see that. Like I keep keepsakes for sure, but it's more about okay, I have to figure out a gift. Like that's the part that's annoying. If something comes up like that's obvious that to be like exchanged to be given, or
Yeah.
if I receive something like small, feels nice. Like just the having to think of something. Yeah, no, I think I'll just write them an email. I was like, hey, Kendrick thinks this, Habib thinks that. What do you guys think? You guys want to give me some closure or something? Huh? And hopefully they respond.
Yeah, it's hard to say, man, because like another difficulty is like you're still young. Like, so if I ask you how do you dress,
Sure.
well, people in their college tend to dress nicer because they're trying to like,
Mhm.
trying to meet someone, right? So like, so
I will say though, like when I went to work last week, I made sure to like look sharp compared to some of my colleagues who are like actually like in Rick and Morty t-shirts and stuff. Not that I don't watch Rick and Morty, but and it's also hard to say because well, then the beta quadra tends to dress pretty well, like
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
SEFP. Like you
annoying.
can put on a suit, you know how to dress. It's
Yeah,
like I like to dress up, but not too much, not every day. It's like
yeah, that is tough because the SEFB knows how to dress, right? So it's
yeah.
so that's a bad cross check for your quadrant.
I
Uh,
guess. Do you
yeah,
have any more?
I'm looking at my I made a PowerPoint slide here, so I'm trying because I'm planning on doing an explainer video on social types, but
Awesome.
I'm gathering information first before I do it. I don't want to be full of shit, right? So
Good.
so number one, definitely not number one. So I'm gonna go. Geez, let's talk about friendship. So do you?
Mhm.
So this one's easy to see because like relationship with other people is kind of
Mhm.
like you've had your whole life, right? Um, how do you feel about friendship first? Like, do you generally care about your friends? You look forward to seeing them. You look forward to catching up with them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you go out of your way
Mhm.
to go see them and stuff? It's like a priority. How do you see that?
Yeah, so I guess that was another reason why it was a bit difficult for me to see because I think I'm just a bit too self-centered and egocentric to be a number four. Like if they really need me for something, I'm gonna help. But the way they present it's like a number four is like always ready to help their friends and they can like never say no and then they don't have time for themselves because they're busy helping other people. I'm definitely not like I absolutely definitely like put myself first. And though I've never had trouble like socializing, like never been like a lonely. I have noticed recently, like I tend to not want to put in much effort into like maintaining friendships. And that's not really something that's ever been a thing from like to put in effort to maintain friendships. That's kind of what's that caused to happen is that as I've like graduated high school and college, I've had some people drift away. I'm like, that's kind of fine. I don't really feel like giving them a call to like meet up again. So what's ended up happening is I feel like my closest friends right now are those that are just actually putting in effort to maintain their friendship with me. And they're the ones that I end up talking to the most. And if I see like an old friend I haven't seen in a while, do I exam like, hey man, what's up? How's your life been? Anything new? But yeah, I don't know. I definitely and like as an to take an outsider perspective, like my parents have always joked about me being very egotistical. So it's just hard for me to imagine having friends first just because of that. Just looking at my whole life, I don't think I've ever prioritized other people before me. And my type is pretty balanced with that, right? So it's not like I can say, oh, I'm just an giga introverted IP. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough because if you're DI, then and you're high friends, you care about your friends, but you still want your friends to come to you, not you come to your friends, right? So
It's
so that's
plausible,
yeah,
sure.
so that's definitely one thing I'm seeing. Like my girlfriend's sleep consume play blast INTJ, right? And
Oh,
she
you're still
loves
together. Awesome.
yeah, we've been together for 10 years. So she loves her friends, but she won't like they have to contact her to hang out. Like she's not gonna contact them, right? So
Mm,
uh
yeah.
and then like so it's like as a DI, it's like it's usually like the other person the DE has to reach out to maintain the connection, right? It's not that they
Mhm.
don't care though. They absolutely care, like you know, but it's there's that layer, right? What about family though? How do you see family?
So I'm an only child, and I guess that does put some spin on it.
Sure.
Together with the types and everything. And it does feel like for the most part, I've kind of been so I still don't feel like I'm that great at typing people. I don't feel confident in putting down a type on anyone, including my parents, even though I've thought it over quite a lot, including social types. but it does feel like my, well, now that I think about it, you mentioned about trophies. My dad has a literal full trophy case with like 100 trophies from his amateur tennis tournaments. Do you think that's something that a number one would do? Maybe.
It's
But yeah, it doesn't matter. Just going on tangents.
yeah.
In general, I feel like they've definitely, my parents have been the like responsible ones. Even as I've entered adulthood, I've never felt like I kind of have to do things for them, as I've seen some people be like, oh, even though I'm a kid, I've always had to be responsible at home. I have to do things because my parents, I know they suck, they're not responsible with things. Um, and I don't have that big of an extended family either. Like for example, my cousin, she's 10 years younger than me, and she's been asking me to hang out more often recently, and I'm just like, eh, fine. I kind of rather like watch my YouTube videos or play my games at times. I don't think it's ever been that important to me. At the same time, I do enjoy spending family time every now and then. Just feels like it's kind of in the middle on a priority list. If that tells you anything.
My gut tells me you might be a three based on your story.
Yeah, it's like there's still friends there, but you're kind of a demon. Yeah.
You have friends because I think you have double activated play. Um, and I think it's kind of being tricky that you could be something else because I'm just thinking of your story and stuff because it's social type is not the same as your OPS code, right? The OPS code
Mhm.
is based on what's triggering you, right? And what's when you're where you are having an emotional spike or where you are being weird. But
Mhm.
social type, people can see what their social type is. Same as their sexual modality. Like those two are people can self-type themselves. Even Dave and Shan said that. And just listening to your story, you are letting some of your friendship float away, and it doesn't seem to bother you. That's a key word I'm looking for. It doesn't seem to bother you because my girlfriend, she's a four, and she doesn't go out of her way to see her friends, but the thought of those friendships floating away bothers her. And I'm talking to other people with save your friends, like a twos and fours. The thought of the friendship floating away, even if it's outside their control because of life circumstance, right? Like you have a job, you have to move to a different city, it bothers them. Like I am a number two, and when certain friendships float away, it bothers me, right? Because I really care.
Yeah.
But um, but it doesn't seem to bother you at all. You can
I wonder. I'm not sure. Just bother is like, because also, I'm still demon feeling, so it's kind of difficult sometimes to be like, so do I really not care about this, or do I kind of care and I don't want to care? So I'm like, oh yeah, I don't care. It's
it's not black and white, dude,
honestly
but
don't even know.
but I'm just listening to you talk and I'm hearing your vibe and I'm
Mhm.
and your state and just observing you. It doesn't seem that you're losing any sleep, that some of these
Sure.
friendships are floating away. Okay. It doesn't seem like you're bothered at whatsoever that these friendships are floating away, you know.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's not even because of like outside circumstances. Like it's absolutely my choice. Like I could put in some effort
Exactly.
to
That's what I
keep
mean.
those friendships
Yeah.
like afloat, but maybe yeah. So Andrew Huberman, he was the first person that they typed that was the exact same 512 type as me. At the time of our first interview, there was actually no one of the same type.
Yeah.
And I've been studying him, listening to his podcast quite a lot to try to gain some, perspective, and he's a number three. So I've been trying to like see, his life story, his wife parents, and how they compare to mine. um so like his specialized thing, right, is the neuroscience and like the health thing, just being a science person, professor. And I guess he just ended up going in that direction. But um Yeah, I guess I'll just need some time to be able to tell for sure. Like maybe 5 or 10 years down the line, once I see how my career path develops, I'll be able to to say with more certainty. But yeah,
Yeah, like Andrew Huberman, he's friendly, right? But does that mean friends? Friends and friendly are different, right? So I
yeah,
mean, he loves David Goggins, for example. He studies David Goggins a lot, right? You know, but he's doing it as a scientist, not because I don't know. I don't actually know if they're actually friends.
yeah, and with Flex too as well. So they're like, I think they're both freeze. So they both do the podcast. I think they did the podcast together, but then you also have to wonder like how much do they actually hang out, outside of that,
Exactly.
mutual interest kind of thing that goes into the specialized thing. It's curious.
Because it sounds like
One,
it sounds like you're learning. You like to learn from people, but and you said earlier, I don't want to just shoot the shit. That's the key word. There's nothing new. There's nothing to be learned, and you don't want to shoot the shit. So,
yeah,
but
right.
it doesn't sound like your friends last. So definitely not a one, right? So that's why I'm leaning towards three because I'm looking at all the cross checks right now, and it sounds like, huh, like it's leaning towards three right now. You
And that
know,
was my initial intuition as well. And if they are right that we can't see ourselves, like I think the first video that I saw was like, okay, free sounds like the most logical, for me at least. But in one video they did talk about whether your social type conflicts with your OP type, and if it does or if it doesn't, that kind of affects especially those early years. So if I'm a number three, that like completely conflicts with my OPS type, right? Because it's ON EP versus the need to specialize. So there's the lacking mechanism there to do the OI for that. So that'll be difficult. Whereas if I'm a number two, that's like kind of the perfect deck of cards being stacked to be an entrepreneur. And
right?
wow, I have
That's a good
always,
point. That's a good point.
yeah. So like if it was, then why am I not an entrepreneur yet? You'd
No,
think.
no, that's not true. You can enter later
Ah,
on because I didn't start my first business until I was 31. But like,
mhm,
I feel like I'm talking to you there. I do sense cognitive dissonance in your social type and
mhm,
in your
mhm.
in your OPS stack. So I sense my NF is sensing a cognitive dissonance
Okay.
here. So
Yeah, maybe that's where the confusion comes from, why it's so difficult to like narrow it down and get a feel
yeah.
for it because it's conflicting.
I'm gonna do a little bit more cross check before we wrap up this interview. Okay. When you were younger, when you're hanging with your high school friends and college
Mhm.
friends, and it's time to organize hangouts, who does the organizing of the hangout? Is it you? Are you the one that
Never.
shows people? No, not you.
Oh
Okay.
God, no, no. Like organizing trips, like hangouts, like I, if it has anything to do with organizing, like I run.
But do you reach out to your friends and tell them, hey guys, we should hang out? Maybe not organizing, but like to try to gather up the people because it's still gathering,
Ah,
right? Have you seen? Have you ever done
yeah,
that? Have
I
you like?
think so. Sure, I think so. Just trying to get people together. Yeah, I do remember I would enjoy quite a lot in university, like when everyone would study at the library together and we'd all do the like we'd all have lunch, we'd have like the full group or like the full friend group together. I'd enjoy that. I would say, I don't know, it's hard to see again because is that play? Is that friends? Like just enjoying, when a group comes together, like you see people happy around you and everyone's pushing each other. Like, is that FE vibes? Is that number two? But I do think like I do try to get people together, but it's not consistent because in
That's the word I'm looking for. Has it been
mm,
consistent for you to gather all your friends together to hang out? If you did
mm,
it once or twice or a few
right,
times, that's
right.
not consistent, right? So
Mhm.
that's not consistent. Would you say then?
I guess so. It's kind of hard for me to say. I guess that's like the whole point of it, right?
Well, yeah,
Just
that you have to use your sleep processing to look
yeah,
back.
right. That's the thing, right? I have to sleep on all that to get to. Uh,
Because right now, what if your love language is quality time? So that's tied to four, right? So you're either a four because you said gifts is low and gives us high for threes, right?
Are there love languages really like that big of a cross check? Like they match that well to like the
My
social?
in my honest opinion, the love language is the lowest cross check because I've seen fours that has words of affirmation as a love language. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the weakest of all the cross check. I'm just using it as a supporting document at this point.
Yeah.
But ultimately though, it does make perfect sense for number fours to want quality time, but they also but besides quality time, it's also kind of unsure at this moment if each social type is only correlated with one love language because I feel like it's more than one in one social
Mm-hmm.
type, and the second social type might not be correlated as a straight second love language. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a current it's a it, I consider it as a weaker supporting document. That's how I see it.
I see. I
But it's
see.
still there. It's still there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I'm just using my gut feeling here right now. You don't seem like a two also.
Mm-hmm.
Um I think you're either a three or a four. That's just my opinion at this time. I have to
Mm-hmm.
I need more evidence and I need you to sleep process more to gather more data. So
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um and also you're too young, so it's kind of hard to say. Like I think it's easier to do someone's social type when they turn like 30, right? How many
Mm-hmm.
different jobs have you had?
It's just this one actually. But then again, I also graduated like quite recently.
So you didn't
Though
work when you were in high school or college or university?
no, not really. I mean, some small things like I've had like an internship and I've worked like in the service industry a bit, but not long enough for me to consider it a job anyway.
Did you
But
want to work or not want to work during college?
not really,
Not
not
really.
really.
Okay, this is why I don't think you're two.
That
This is
does
why I don't
point
think
to
you're
me,
two.
right?
Because I've been
Yeah.
working since I was 17. I've always had multiple
Wow.
jobs and obsessed with work. Like obsessed with
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, if I'm definitely if I compare myself to some of my friends who definitely feel like actual twos, right? Actually starting businesses at 20, like starting work super early, changing jobs, just getting themselves to like really good position. Um, it does feel like it's not really there, no.
Yeah,
And I guess 3 years is a decently long time. Maybe if I was a number two, I'd have gotten bored of the comfort zone I've gotten myself into. Like, I have to switch something up, have to make sure.
yeah, because like I mentioned to you, as early as 17, I wanted to work. I work at so many jobs. Like seriously, since I was 17, I'm always like either one job, two jobs, and all always different industries, right? And then even now I'm in my late 30s and I usually have three jobs going on at one time, plus my business.
Jesus.
And even for business, like here, let me just give you an example for my life pal. Okay, just an
Go ahead.
example. Um, I've worked in fitness for 10 years, but within fitness, I was a personal trainer. I teach group fitness. I've taught senior fitness. I've taught classes for people with osteoporosis. I teach spin classes. And recently, now a yoga instructor, right? And then on top of that, right, I work as a supervisor for the Canadian federal election, which I thought was the easiest job because I was managing 15 people. And managing people, in my opinion, is super easy, like just coordinating and stuff. And then the next job I had, I also work as a recruiter for a travel nurse company. I work as a recruiter for a security company. I've worked as a paid travel blogger. I have my own travel blog. I have a travel YouTube channel, and I have this personality YouTube channel, right? And
It's a
all of them
lot.
generates income. So if you look at my life pile, I'm freaking working all the time, and I'm always doing two or three things at one time. And that's like, and then on top of that, with my friends, since I was freaking 10 years old, I've always been organizing group hangouts. They come to me to organize it since I was 10. I go to
Right.
college. I'm the one who forms the groups, organize house parties, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm always
Okay.
responsible for everyone. So
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
like that's like the lifestyle. And it's not just me. I look at other twos. My other friend are twos. Oh my God, they always have three jobs, organizing group events, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
All of them are doing the same shit. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's my best friend exactly as describe it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. It does feel like for me the desire is just let me get really good at one thing, do
yeah,
it 9 to 5. Like make a really good living out of it, and don't bother me after 5. Don't bother me on weekends. Let me
Yeah.
have the me time, and that would definitely point to being a 3, I'd imagine.
But is it 3 or 4? That's the next thing.
Oh,
'Cause
sure, yeah. I mean, and then it's like, uh, hmm. Yeah, it,
but it's good. No, but this is good, dude. Because remember earlier when you were doing your anti-sleep processing, you're like, this one doesn't work. So right now we're shoving out the one
fixing
doesn't
it
work, right?
work.
So we know
Yeah,
one and
yeah,
two
yeah.
doesn't work, right? But there's 3 and
Mhm.
4, they could work. Either of them can work. So it's that's kind of where it gets tricky, because the biggest difference then is the friends thing, right? The friends and the ego are the biggest, and I guess responsibility. So
Mhm. Yeah, I just kind of want to, of course, naturally, I tend to be like, oh, I need to consume. So I need to go watch that, the video material that I've forgotten already, because I actually haven't watched that much in like a few months. And I'm sure they release new stuff on social. That's like, I have to consume more, get a more sensory to be able to say. For example, they did say something about like financial responsibility. Like, I think it was either the freeze or the force, like really bad with finance, or with Stews. I don't know if you've heard that one specifically. Um, I think Dave did say that like Freeze are just bad with planning finance, just poor with
three
managing money,
threes.
something like that. It could have been Force. I think it was the Freeze though. It was,
Well,
I
they
hate
made a
it.
video of this one guy. He has to keep working because he keeps spending money on everything, and he's the number
Hmm.
3. He's the number 3.
Right. So for me, I've always had exceptional like financial discipline. Like I've literally never run out of money in my life. Like ever since I was a kid, like no matter how much pocket money I have, I'm like, I never spend it all, never run out of it.
Dude, dude, I think that's a cross check we're missing. Not missing responsibility, because 3s are missing responsibility. That's why they're bad with money, because responsibility is missing, right?
Yeah. I That's the thing, it's
So
like what.
hold on a second, because you just provided all the cross checks here. So you said you've been good with money. That means responsibility not missing. Earlier you
I
said
guess.
you like quality time a lot. That's 4, right? You don't have any trophies. So where's the ego here?
Maybe Demon Flex,
Yeah, Demon Flex. Yeah, where's the trophies? Where's the medals? Like where is it? Like, is your name attached to anything? Like, have you ever been in a position where you had a top spot? None, right?
I mean,
I know you're.
uh,
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to hit on
sure.
you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know
It's
you're.
not
I know
like
you're
it's
lead.
not an
I know.
ego thing.
Like, I
Yeah,
know you
yeah.
still have Ti, and Ti has big ego still. But like,
It
like,
does. It does.
but like, I'm not trying to shit on you. Like you're saying,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
saying you're a
yeah.
loser, but like, I'm
I
just
know.
saying,
I'm done with the sun. Don't worry, man. I'm
yeah.
chill.
It's like, you know, um, okay, okay. So my opinion is you're a 4, but
Okay.
we'll leave it at that. Okay, I think you're a 4.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Um, because not missing responsibility, you like quality time, you don't give a shit about gifts. Um, you're really friendly. Um, maybe people have to chase you to hang out with them, but you know, um, and the lack of drive also. Uh,
Yeah, I guess that is a thing. The lack of drive. It feels
yeah,
like I have to make myself instead of being like, oh, I'm gonna crush it, and that.
yeah, but I don't think responsibility is missing. So that means you're gonna have to lean on that as you get older, because that's gonna be the key to success. Because Joe Rogan is number 1 at podcasts. And remember,
Mm-hmm.
you said earlier you wanted to podcast, right? And then
Yeah.
and Joe Rogan is the podcaster. The number 1 podcaster in the world is number 4, right? And then
True.
even the Egyptian guy, the bodybuilder Egyptian guy, he's number 1 in Mr. Olympia, right? Like, I think 2 years in a row, and he's not freaking number 4.
Rami.
Just because you're number
Yeah.
4 doesn't mean you cannot win. It just means
Sure. Sure.
someone has to motivate you to win, but it doesn't mean you won't. And a lot of number 4s are number 1s. Um, so and another thing that David Shan said in the more recent videos, that the really good thing about 3s and 4s is number 1s and 2s have a scam, right? That's what they call it. I don't like the word scam. I call it, they have a gimmick, right?
Uh-huh.
So if they're trying to sell something, it's based on a gimmick, or they have to do like a sales letter or a sales video to convince someone to go buy their
Mhm.
product and service.
Mhm.
So they either have to look really good, and make it shiny. But with the 3s and 4s, their work speaks for them for itself. You don't need any
Mhm.
gimmick because threes and fours take everything seriously, and when it comes to that kind of stuff, and they really put a lot of work into their craft, right? Because of the
Mhm.
savior specialization. So when they do have a product or a service, it's top notch because of the craftsmanship behind it. So it speaks for itself, and they don't have to do a lot of selling to convince otherwise that people should get on board because it already speaks for itself. Like Joe Rogan, for example, his podcast is so entertaining, right? So it already speaks for itself. He doesn't have to convince people, hey, subscribe to my podcast or download my podcast. No, people just did it because he
Yeah.
really wanted to shoot the shit with people and make it fun.
I will say that's definitely been a desire of mine when I was thinking of, businesses and entrepreneurship. Just I hate selling, I hate marketing. I
Right.
see it with the SF, with the NF. I know how they do it. I know how it works. I know they do it because it works. But I always had this notion of I want my work to speak for myself. I want it to be so good that I don't have to sell it to you. Like
Right.
it'll be a no fucking brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will agree with that sentiment. Yeah.
Yeah. And then yeah, so I think okay, so I think let's go with that and we'll wrap up this follow-up talk
Sounds good. It's
right
good
here.
talking to you again, Kendrick.
But yeah, man. So hopefully David Chan gets back to you. I think you're a four, but we think you're
Mhm.
two. So and you think you're a three. So it's all over the place right now.
All over the
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
Um,
Hopefully, the people watching got something out of it.
yeah, for sure. All right, man. Take care. Peace out.
Pleasure. See ya.